Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Doing fine.
Good, good. So we'll wait just another minute or so and see who ends up popping in here, and then we'll go ahead and get going. I've got a few things to cover, and then we have just this session's really just going to be talking about kind of how we're going to be starting the school year back up and how it pertains to fleet management. So kind of be thinking about that. I'll pop the agenda up here so that way you guys can kind of see what the topics are going to be, and we'll just kind of go around. This is an encouraged time for you guys all to talk, so we can do introductions and a little bit of that, and I think we'll just give it another minute and then I'll get it started. So all right, we'll go ahead and get started. So I see some new names in here that I don't necessarily know that I've ever met any of you, but my name is Jason Nelson. I am one of the transportation supervisors over at Kyrene School District, also the past president of TAA. So we are going to obviously put this little session together for Let's Talk Fleet Staff. And really what that's going to be is about just all of you, hopefully most of you kind of oversee your fleet and have some ideas on what you're already doing to plan for the upcoming school year, and maybe just hear from each other on some of those plans. But before we get started, I just want to give a special thanks again to our vendors for the 2020 conference sponsorship. ADEQ, they will be there tomorrow in our vendor show. Auto Safety House, Braun Ability, Canyon State Bus Sales, Cummins Engines, REI, which Craig is in here, RWC, I saw Chelsea in here for their support of this year's virtual conference. They were all able to come together and help us get this Zoom platform up, so we appreciate that, and their willingness to do several breakout sessions tomorrow during the vendor show. So I think that'll be pretty cool. For those that may not necessarily be aware of how Zoom works, there is a comment box down at the bottom of your screen, should be, so you can type your questions there. But we'll just kind of have opportunity for those of you to just, again, like I said, share conversation. It's really just a kind of a meeting room, and I'll just kind of be your moderator here, keeping us on track. So for those of you that want to turn on your cameras, feel free to turn on your cameras. I don't want to be the only person with my camera off, but I think that will help us just feel like we're in a kind of a breakout session room again. I can mute you, unmute you if you need help, or if you're having problems with technical difficulties, let me know. And then also I had some other piece here that I wanted to share. There's Stephen. If you have any questions that kind of pop up throughout the conference that you're just wanting to know a little bit more about, TA is working on a FAQ session or a document that we're gonna try and put up on the TA webpage. So there's a couple spots in there's one in the COVID-19 resources page, and there's another one in the conference page where it's just basically a Google survey for you to just type your questions, and we'll come back. And it's what that does is it's helping us try and figure out where the help is needed and what kind of information we need to help with. So With that being said, kind of want to give it over to you, those of you that are in here. So if you guys want to unmute and just kind of maybe say who you are and where you're from, and we can then get into kind of the meat and potatoes of our meeting. Steve, you want to roll it off?
Sure, I'm Steven Palizzato. I'm the sales manager with Canyon State Bus Sales.
Chelsea, you in here?
Hey guys, I'm Chelsea Wilson. I am a sales representative for the Southern Arizona territory with RWC Group.
Thank you. Shelly? Oh, we'll see. Maybe Shelly's not there. How about George? Oh, there's Shelly. Shelly, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, this is Shelley Kinnenberg with the Sequoia Schools. I'm the Assistant Director of Transportation.
Cool, thank you. And George Villacania?
Yes, my name is Jorge Vicama. I'm here, bus driver from San Luis, Arizona.
Welcome. How about
CPLC.
awesome, thank you. How about Lorenzo Garcia? All right, we'll move on to Carlos Fuentes. Carlos, are you there? Nope. All right, Sam, are you there? I see Sam.
Yeah, good morning. Sam Gonzalez and Bob Irwin. We're both with Tempe Union High School.
Cool. Thank you, Sam. So you have been part of our meetings here that we've already kind of been having on these Fridays here in June about information that's been going on. We've just been kind of having this round table. So just want to open it up and see what, maybe even an interesting look from what the vendor side is. What are thoughts on social distancing on a school bus? And is anybody actually going to the work to put that together? Are they going? I know Sam wants to talk a little bit about this, about what they're going to be doing as far as every other seat, or, are they going to actually try and keep to one kid per every other seat? So is anybody working on anything like that?
So yeah, at Tempe Union, Sam Gonzalez here again. Yeah, we're looking at a every seat model. So on an 84 passenger bus, we'll have 27 kids on the bus, or students. We won't be using the seat right behind the driver. And we're going to try and space the students so like on one row, one will be on the window seat, and then one will be on the aisle seat, so they're not right next to each other, and then that'll rotate, so you get the most optimal use of spacing on the bus. I know that's going to be hard to police, and we don't expect our drivers to constantly check that, but we're going to put some type of markings on the seats so the students know which areas they should be seated on.
Got it. So are you guys changing your routes, or how's that going to work with, as far as what happens when you get beyond, I guess, those 20 students that are going to be allowed to ride the bus? Are you changing your routes in any way, shape, or form?
At this time, we plan to run all of our routes at their regular times. We're not changing schedules. However, I've mentioned in some of the other meetings, we're probably one of the only districts. We only plan to go for one day a week. We'll be off. We will not have classes on our campuses, and that'll be used for, teacher prep time and student one-on-ones with the teachers, and allow for cleaning at the school campuses. And then the other 4 days, we'll split our student population. So they'll only be attending one day of the week, and we'll split that by letters of the alphabet.
Got it.
So 25% each of the days.
So is your staff or your garage staff doing anything as far as, some sort of signage or something for the bus that's going to determine where students are going to like actually sit and be expected to sit on the bus?
Yeah, we do want to put something on to identify that seat location. We haven't figured that one out yet. Although I heard Kyrene's print shop came up with something, so we may need to hit you up on that.
Yeah. They, they've been doing stickers for us and, all the, like what you see in the stores and whatnot. So they've got a lot of different models that they're kind of putting together. And I'm not exactly sure what we've come up with yet as far as the bus goes. I think Shannon Weber's been kind of taking the lead on a lot of the social distancing piece for us as it pertains to students in the bus. So, we're just working on that. Shelly, I saw that you were popping in. Did you want to have anything to share with what you guys might be doing there?
Yeah, I know. For us so far here at Sequoia Schools, we are a charter school that we plan on doing only every other seat and zigzagging across as of right now. And so that, of course, is going to limit to like 12 kids on a bus unless you are family members, then you can sit in the same seat, like family members from the same house. And as of right now, because our system hasn't decided what we were doing yet, so we currently are building double the routes. So we have routes where we have like our elementary, because we do go K through 12, so we have elementary coming during one load, and then the afternoon kids come in another load. But we're still trying to find out what they're going to do on how we're going to run our school and what days. And we cover a lot of schools, so there's like some of our schools that are down to 4 days, but our campus here in Mesa, we don't know what they're doing yet.
Got it. Anybody else from the fleet side, want to kind of share thoughts on social distancing? I know that, obviously the CDC and even just our state health organizations are trying to, say where possible we should be, seating students every other row and just trying to, do that. But then we have, kind of I think Kyrene's kind of taken a stance of we're going to just require masks for everybody. We're still going to try and do some things like loading back to front and, vice versa on the afternoon morning runs, and trying to keep kids together. I think there's going to be a few situations where students or siblings don't get along with each other and probably aren't going to be very well to sit together. So we'll just have to work through some of those dynamics. But what do you guys think about anybody else? I've seen a few other people pop in here. Welcome. We're talking about just thoughts on social distancing on a bus. So I don't know if Dennis or even maybe I could put the vendors on, Steven or Chelsea, if you guys want to kind of talk to that, what you're seeing maybe at a national level and thoughts about that.
Chelsea, you want to go ahead?
Go for it.
I know that we've been talking to a lot of schools lately and seeing what everybody's going to do and just to see how we can help people prepare. And I know, for instance, Queen Creek is going to resume normal operations. I know, for instance, my home district at Madison is going to resume normal operations, but offer a mask to all riders. So there's kind of a variety of different things that people are doing, but from the majority of the people that I've talked to, it sounds like a lot of people are going to not practice social distancing on the school bus because of the hardship that it provides for routes.
Sure.
Yeah, I can agree to that, Stephen. Just to echo what you said, a lot of districts are kind of just testing a little bit of everything, seeing what they can get away with DPS, and still complying with federal motor vehicle safety standards. And a lot of it's not passing. So really, it's all just going to come down to personal protective equipment and masks and hand sanitizer, maybe.
Yeah, to jump on that, that's a really good point, Chelsea, because basically everybody was waiting for DPS to rule about the sneeze guards and barrier shields for the drivers. And from what I understood from DPS's email, it kind of put the onus onto the dealer and the manufacturer to approve said equipment. And that would mean that we as a dealer and we as a manufacturer would be required to crash test the equipment, which is a very, very expensive and very, very lengthy process. And by the time that we even got close to having resolution on that, we will hopefully see some relief from this virus.
Sure.
So,
Have you guys had anybody that's, and not to name names or anything, but just anybody that's actually come with a, you know, a design, so to speak, to say, hey, this is what we're thinking, and, you know, kind of asking guidance from either of, you know, RWC or Keenan State to say, you know, help us through this process? Have you guys had those conversations yet?
Yeah, no, we've had a lot of things be put in front of us, but nothing that's been successful.
Got it.
we've had one thing put in front of us that might pass. And it's because they didn't drill permanent holes into the structure of the body. And we're still waiting to see how DPS is going to rule on that. But I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure because nobody can predict what DPS is going to do. I thought that there would be something more cut and dry from DPS on their ruling, and they did leave it open for people to approach the manufacturers and the dealers.
Which I think is a little interesting, considering, you know, when you look at other states that have come out, their Department of Public Safety have come out and just flat out said, no, this isn't going to fly. So don't even bother asking. I think that's, you know, I mean, I guess kudos to our DPS for giving the freedom to try and go that way if somebody wanted to. But I know that, you know, it kind of looks like with all of that legwork that has to go into it when you talk about crash testing and having to meet federal vehicle standards and all of that. I mean, I'm kind of with you in that you would think that we would start to see some sort of relief by the time that, you know, that would take. So,
Right.
all right, we can switch gears a little bit to just sanitization protocols on the bus, and if anybody wants to share if they're using electrostatic cleaners or anything that, you know, might be thinking outside the box. Does anybody want to maybe chime in here? I don't know, Shelly, if you want to, you can take the lead again, or Sam, either one of you, just talk to what Tempe Union might be doing as far as making sure buses are being cleaned either in between runs or in between routes.
Hi, this is Shelley. I know for our buses right now, our plan is we did purchase water bottles that are actually, or they're not actually water bottles, but bottles to hold the sanitation cleaner so that after each route that we'll be spraying the buses. Our buses have already been sprayed twice since March. From front to back, everything has been sprayed. It's supposed to, the stuff we're using is supposed to dry within like 3 minutes. So by the time, you know, you drop off kids and get out there to reload, you can, the bus should be dry. So that is our plan of right now. Our drivers all will be wearing masks. So hopefully this will work.
Got it. Sam, anything that you guys are planning as far as in between cleaning of your buses?
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out as we speak. You know, we do have one electrostatic sprayer and a couple more on order, and I think we're trying to get a backpack sprayer, but that doesn't help us between runs. And we're thinking of maybe creating, you know, at the loading zones at each school, at least our first two tiers, having a little cabinet that we would secure there near the bus loading zone, and drivers could pull up and do a quick cleaning, because I don't believe DPS is going to allow us to carry, you know, chemicals and things on the bus.
Sure.
But you know, outside of that, we did have a demonstration about a week ago on a chemical called Ultra Blitz, and it uses a nanotechnology foundation, and it's supposed to kind of create a coating over all your surfaces, and it kills bacteria on the touch. Now they do recommend that every so often you still wipe it with water, just so it rejuvenates and it doesn't have any dirt or particles that are blocking its effectiveness. But I guess it's being used in hospitals, and it's not well known out there, but it's a pretty remarkable product. Not cheap though.
Interesting. Has anybody looked into, or I know that there was some thoughts about as far as sanitation or extra sanitation of like air conditioning filters, and you know, increasing the, I guess maybe the service intervals in between air conditioning filters and that. Has anybody started working on something like that? Or I know that there was maybe some discussion also about possible like UV light installations inside those filtration systems, so that way as the virus passed through, it would be effectively killed as it passes through the UV light. Is there, maybe Stephen, do you know anything about that, or has anybody you shed any light on that?
Yeah, so we do have a vendor that is currently working on that for us. It's one of our air conditioning vendors, and they are working on some sort of UV that would be installed into the bus when it was upfitted with air conditioning. So that could be something that could be retrofitted as well, ideally. But if I'm being totally honest, I'm cautious about how much we advertise for it, because by the time that it's ready for market, will we see relief from this situation? You know, because it's going to come to market, but it's going to come to market in a matter of probably months rather than weeks.
So I think Josh, I'll share just what Josh over at Higley's doing, as far as they got some 1 gallon like backpack sprayer type devices that I think will be at each I guess school, that so that way it kind of wraps around that piece of not carrying the chemicals on the bus. They're going to have like a, I guess, sanitation station at each bus bay with chemicals waiting there as we discharge students. They'll drive up, they'll be able to, you know, grab the backpack sprayer, and then I guess he found some sort of really light misting nozzle that will you know, they can spray those chemicals through the bus fairly quickly and then go ahead and proceed on to their next run. But I also know that they're going to be using that back in their bus yard as well. So as the buses come back, I think they're planning, and even we're planning to do just primarily that, have say 3 or 4 people that are designated, you know, sanitization crew that will be going through all the buses after their morning runs and then after the afternoon runs as well. So obviously some incurred labor that's going to be there, but you know, anybody else? Dennis, Serku, I see you in here. Do you want to share about what you guys might be doing as far as sanitation goes? know if he's just listening. Nope. Anybody else want to chime in? Frank's in here.
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Nope. Alrighty. So how's everybody working with their district administrators for return of school? Has anybody been consulted or been on any of the planning committees, that are trying to figure out how we're going to return? Has anybody been working on that? Okay. How about it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Miranda I'm the transportation supervisor for Pinyon Community School. As far as us, it's still up in the air. We're not sure if we are gonna have bringing students in, or still planning on if we should have online. So right now, the Navajo Nation is we've been hit pretty big. So it's
Yeah.
still up in the air.
Yeah, we've been hearing that, and thoughts with everybody up on the reservation. I think I heard, was it Ganado that went to all online school for the entire year? So, obviously there's a lot that's still up in the air. I think everybody's trying to plan accordingly as if we're going to start school on our, based on our scheduled calendar that had been approved long before this virus started. But at the same time, I think as we start to see our numbers continue to climb, at least in the state, there's maybe starting some conversations about, is school going to get pushed back and have a later start rather than an early start? So kind of hard to be in limbo as far as what conversations, or as far as scheduling and planning what we need to do, as far as are we going to go on the actual first day of school? Are we going to get pushed back? Are we going to get pushed up early? I know our district was pushing up a couple days early just to try and gain some instructional minutes. So it's definitely, you're basically planning 3 to 5 different scenarios that could basically be decided on at the drop of a hat. So very, very difficult position for us to all be in.
Hey, Jason, Sam again from Tempe. Just one suggestion, and we kind of learned the hard way, but through board meetings, we weren't brought to the table on at least some ideas that were floating out there, like temp checks and wearing face masks and having to police that, and the capacity on the buses. So we've kind of had to go back and re-educate some of our administrators and folks at the school that how it impacts the route times. We're going to need more time to clean buses, and we only have maybe 25-30 minutes between most of our schools anyway. So I think making sure your voice is heard and getting out there and
Sure.
Letting having that important dialogue. It may not always be what folks want to hear, but I think it's important to have those discussions now before the school year starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, oftentimes, at least from what I've, in my experience, a lot of departments end up kind of being an afterthought as far as transportation goes. So, just trying to get that mindset to your department or your district leadership to say, hey, we're the ones moving these kids around from point A to point B and getting them where they need to go so they can, get to school or get to their, after school sporting activities, and, for them to make decisions without us having that seat at the table, I think is very important. So, the more that you speak up, I'll say, my mom always says, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more that you can kind of have those conversations and kind of start getting transportation as a future thought, or part of the planning team, that's definitely very important for all of us as we work through specifically details like this, right? How can a district be planning things and not really have anything to say as far as transportation goes. And kind of what we saw as far as the, ADE's guidelines back to transportation, when you go back and look at all of those work groups that built that document, not one transportation person was on any of one of those committees. So, a little frustrating when you talk about all of these things that are coming out as far as social distancing and cleanliness and sanitization on the school bus and what does that look like, but not once was any of us consulted on that. So, it's just the more that we get our name out there and become involved, those are the types of things that people are going to be like, hey, we need to have this person at the seat. So let's talk a little bit about shop safety and what are we doing as far as social distancing in the shop. Most of us have fairly large shops, so it's easy to kind of stay there, maintain those 6-foot distances. But what are you doing as far as mask requirement, washing hands, and teaching your staff to observe all of those? I know that probably 50% of people have their own opinions one way and 50% have their own opinions another way. So how do you make sure that they're staying on track with what the district expects and make sure that we're following those guidelines? Anybody want to share?
I can start with what we're doing here at the dealership. I know a lot of your buses might be coming in, not specifically to the Tucson dealership, but with the individual entities having to require face masks. I know here in Tucson and Pima County, we do have face masks. So I'm in my office now, but anywhere out of the office, definitely face mask. Checking out the shop yesterday, a lot of people were choosing to have face masks on. We've kind of implemented, if you're working in your bay, have your face mask. If you have to leave your bay or someone comes into your bay, you will need to, put a face mask on if you have to go get parts or, go to where the oil is or what have you. Definitely strongly suggested. And then as far as like intake goes, people checking in the buses are wearing gloves. We do have sanitation stuff on hand for when you guys bring your buses in, and when we're giving them back to you, we are wiping them down, to help you guys stay safe and healthy.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Steven, same stuff?
Yeah, virtually the same stuff at our dealership as well. So we're not really allowing customers in the small contained areas of the dealership. We will meet them outside, and we're gonna have tents set up and all that stuff for them. So there's no overexposure to the sun or anything like that. But we're trying to keep a lot of people out of the small areas, just to make sure that there's less exchange of breath and things like that going on. But everything that Chelsea said is exactly what we're doing as well. So, it sounds like they're leading with a good example. And we are also doing the same for our parts department. So we'll come meet people at the door and, assess what their needs are and how we can help them and take care of them that way as quick as possible to make sure that there's less exchange. And we do have masks, and we do have a lot of hand sanitizer all around the building, just placed at strategic areas so people can always help themselves. The school bus business is not it's not like working at a restaurant. There's not a huge amount of exchange going on. So we have a little bit more convenience when it comes to that, but we are taking a lot of precautions just to make sure, because it could really wipe out a lot of your employees quickly if you don't take the proper precautions.
Sure. I can just talk a little bit about what we're doing here at Kyrene. So pretty much what you guys said, right? Since masks are now being required in the city, We, as a district, I think we even were in the news that we were one of the first to require masks for all of our employees. So basically the same thing. If you're not able to be in a, you know, socially distant setting, that we're able to, you know, you need to wear a mask. Um, our bays, I have 5 mechanics, so they're all pretty well spaced out. But if they're, you know, in their break room or having to come in to order parts or anything like that, they need to have their masks on. And then as far as, you know, they all have wash stations, plenty of hand sanitizers out there. Our district's actually providing masks if people don't have the opportunity to provide their own mask. So our district, you know, we just need to go over and see somebody to get a mask if they need it. And then, you know, obviously all the other OSHA stuff that comes with it as far as safety glasses and whatnot. So I think that those are some of the things here. You know, again, does anybody else want to share what they might be doing or what they have done already to implement some of these safety measures in the shop? Tough crowd.
Jason, one thing I did want to point out, circling back to sanitizing the bus, good old soap and water never hurt either. It might be a little more labor intensive, but for those that really can't afford to grab those backpacks or, you know, the heavy duty cleaning equipment, it's just not in their budget. Soap and water, you know, a rag, and
Sure.
clean the whole bus.
Yeah, and I think that on that topic, you know, trying to figure out who's going to be responsible, you know, I know that there may be departments that aren't really necessarily sure as far as how they're going to fund a position or 2 positions to go out and clean 25 or 30 buses. So putting that responsibility back on the driver, but then you might have staff that determine, hey, I'm not really comfortable, you know, being in and around that, even though that they are driving, just having to touch those chemicals daily or twice, 3 times a day to clean their bus in between routes. So, you know, especially for the staff that might be semi-retired, you know, that's probably a lot of extra work that they not necessarily signed up for. And, you know, I mean, we just think about just putting that kind of strain on bending over and wiping and, you know, all of that. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So I think that's where that whole misting piece comes. It seems like the gallon sprayers, you can buy them at just about any hardware shop if they're, you know,
The
in
weed
stock.
sprayers.
Yeah, and I think that
They're
that's
cool.
one of the other sides, is that as all these safety measures and protocols and as the states start opening back up, is that now all of the you know, the cleaning supplies that we need are now unavailable or on, you know, back order to almost September or October. So how do you now work around that, right? These are all things that we should have probably been working on as far as in March and April, but nobody really just knew how to commit to what it was or what it wasn't going to be. So maybe this is a question for the vendors that are in here. Is there anything that you guys are seeing just from a like a wholesale or, you know, warehousing standpoint, that you're running into issues getting any type of sanitization supplies or providing? Like if I was to say, hey, I need, you know, 100 bottles of hand sanitizer, are you guys running into those same issues that things are on back order?
I know we don't stock hand sanitizer here. We do have like Gojo, different wipes, that kind of stuff, more shop related stuff. We do have gloves, which we've sold out of those now.
Yep.
So those are a little bit tougher to get our hands on, but we buy those, you know, by the pallet load and, you know, disperse them amongst our 4 stores. So
Sure.
I can't speak for parts and knowing, you know, what they're going to stock and what they're having problems getting. I do know that, you know, our supply is dwindling though.
Cool. Steven?
Yeah, I mean, I know for sure that at Canyon State Bus, we are stocking hand sanitizers, we are stocking gloves, but like Chelsea said, the supplies are limited, for sure. And we do, I know that RWC offers a backpack. I know that we offer a backpack because, you know, the Home Depot sprayer, as we all call it, sometimes leaves water spots on the equipment. And I don't know if that's important to people, but some people it is. Some people have purchased a lot of PPE equipment from us, you know, small bottles of sanitizer, you know, small boxes of gloves, just stuff like that. But the one thing that I have found with that type of industry is that if you place an order, and this is a vendor problem, this isn't a customer problem, but as a vendor, it's difficult because if you place an order for, say, 5,000 boxes of gloves, right now, the way things are working is the glove supplier will sell them to the next customer in a heartbeat and just say, well, your order's been canceled. So you have to source them from other places. I know that that's going on with all of the PPE equipment, especially sanitizers and stuff like that.
Once you guys get it, are you, you know, kind of like the grocery stores, are you limiting how many, you know, per customer? Is it pretty much if you got a pallet, I can buy a pallet? Okay. So that might be helpful to folks that are listening that, you know, as we're kind of, you know, looking at companies like Waxy and, you know, some of the other Granger, some of the other places that we purchase from, you know, that are sold out because they, I guess, you know, service a much larger portion of businesses rather than the small window of school buses. You know, it's just putting it back, you know, giving people an opportunity to say, hey, don't forget about the bus vendors. They're able to kind of source some of this equipment for us that we're, you know, desperately looking for. So
yeah, not a lot of people off the street are coming to us to buy sanitizer and gloves.
Got it.
So
awesome. Anybody else want to share some of the, you know, just we can maybe switch into a few 10 minutes or so of just general conversation. If anybody wants to ask questions, I'm happy to try and answer any questions that you might have. If you guys have anything that you'd like to talk about.
Hey,
Does
Jason.
anybody have a favorite place to find sanitizer and PPE that they
Do I?
want to share?
Oh yeah.
Or anybody?
Not quite. We come back to that. Sam, you want to go real quick?
I had an unrelated question. So yeah, go ahead, since you're on the same topic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've been doing a lot of just really Waxy and some of our other just parts vendors that we use more so from like the White Fleet side of things. You know, like CarQuest and or what are they? Just lost my mind all of a sudden. Basically, whoever took over CarQuest. So AutoZone, you know, they're all running basically similar deals, but it's like I said, it's really how quickly you want to jump on it and you know, find those supplies.
I think our district at Tempe, we were fortunate early on. They bought a bunch of PPE, so we had pallets of wipes and disinfectant and hand sanitizer, gloves, to the point where I think the Tempe fire department needed resources and they came to us and we gave them like 3 pallets of hand wipes.
Sure.
But I think we're in a pretty good spot. I think our district is using Grady for most of our cleaning stuff.
Cool. You got any? What was your other question, Sam?
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of off topic from what.
Yeah, we can go off topic.
Yeah, and this just question just came up recently in our district, you know, as far as tools and if districts, do they require all the mechanics to provide their own tools, or does the district furnish their tools, or is there a tool allowance or something and how they're compensated for using their own tools? I don't know if one might be willing to elaborate on what they do in their district.
Yeah, I can definitely share what we do here, and where I came from. Tools were provided to the mechanics that came in and out. I know others that allow them to, I think I want to say it was Chandler allows them to bring their tools in. I would say I'd be a little cautious on that just because of the personal liability that somebody, you know, all of a sudden, if you're not providing tools and you're requiring them to bring tools, you know, say one guy has Snap-on and the other guy has Craftsman, and all of a sudden the Snap-on tools start disappearing, you know, are they really disappearing, or you know, I guess that personal liability there of having to do that. You know, we don't run, I guess I'll say, the best hand tools, but we do provide pretty much all the tools that they need to do their job. And if they need something, we have a way to go through a purchase requisition so that way they can justify the purchase, whether it's a hand tool or a diagnostic tool or something to that nature. So I think it is important that tools should be probably accounted for on a regular basis. You know, I just have my guys go through and inventory all of their boxes, and we found a lot of duplicates and a lot of, you know, over the years, as guys left, they would go and raid the other toolbox and, you know, kind of, I guess, make a set or steal, you know, not steal, but take something that they needed an extra of, rather than, let's just say, collectively, when we're in the shop, you know, saying, you know, from a leadership role, every person needs these tools or this tool set in order to work on buses, right? And that those might be for every individual person, and then having specialty tools that become a, you know, shared piece and probably locked up in a tool crib somewhere. So that's pretty much what we do here. You know, and again, if you're buying quality tools, or if your district has spent the money to buy quality tools, there shouldn't really be a reason to replace them every so often unless they're breaking. So that's just a little bit about what we do at Kyrene.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yep. Anybody else want to answer Sam's question? All right. Anybody else have any other questions that they want to answer that may not necessarily relate to kind of the COVID-19 response? No questions at all.
I have a question. I'm curious how much cooperation is going on between, say, I don't know if it would be the router or whomever is deciding how many kids are on a bus. How much cooperation is going on between that person and the person in the classroom who's deciding how closely the kids sit next to each other?
Good question. I can only speak to what we're doing here, but as far as basically what our district did was they took all of the district leaders, directors, principals, and broke them into 6 work groups, and basically had our superintendent and cabinet kind of had this topic flow of what each group would be responsible for to go work out the details of how we would return to work or return to school and what that would look like. So as far as them necessarily being in the details about what we were going to do as far as how many kids we're going to put on a bus, the main request was we wanted to be fast, not elegant. So it was really not spending, and that was really nice because it was not requiring us to have all this time going through and developing these what if scenarios, right? We could develop these what if scenarios and change bell times. We could have 9 to a dozen different bell times so that we could meet these, CDC require guidelines of what they're asking for as far as 9 kids or 10 kids on a bus. But in different, I would say, is that we are not changing routes. We're not doing anything other than saying, kind of changing how we load a bus. So that may change the way that we have seating charts on the bus. Again, that requiring that piece of siblings to sit together and some of those other things. But I think that the nice thing is that it's going to draw that kind of that line in the sand and basically push it back onto the community and say, this is what's going to be required for students to ride the bus. But at the same time, if you're not cool with that and you don't want them to do that, you're more than welcome to drive them yourself and get them to school. So we'll see how that actually plays out as the school year actually opens up and starts. But they are coming out and doing this collaborative, or they're doing what they're calling a cohort. So basically, once the kids are at school, they're not changing classrooms. They're all going to be together and they're going to stay within that confined classroom setting, and the teachers are going to rotate instead for those that do rotate. So it's basically keeping the idea of herd immunity. So they're limiting exposure to other students and other places within the school building that they don't necessarily need to go access. So we'll see what that looks like. But it definitely, I can say, I guess for me, I would be that intermediate person sharing that information between the router and our director or cabinet level leadership to say, what are we doing on the school bus? But again, that's those conversations that we've had, and that they're remembering to include us in the conversation during the planning phases, right? We've been pretty much a part of the team since there was discussion for the school closure to even happen before spring break even came to a close. So we were being included in all of that. Anybody else want to share to Stephen's question? All right. Well, I just wanted to share the conference page, or the transportation page, that we have this COVID-19 response. This page is going to give you a lot of different information that's on here. We have a survey for districts to respond about how they are starting the school year back up. This page here, do you guys see this page? Can you see the spreadsheet? Yes, no? Okay. So this spreadsheet is going to show all of the districts that have already responded, and it has a lot of questions and a lot of answers to questions that we put in the survey. So those of you that are in here want to see how other districts, maybe some of your neighbors, are responding to the startup, that piece is available. If you still have questions, that you don't necessarily want to ask here and are interested in TAA to create a FAQ, you can go into this forum and type that question there. This is a YouTube videos of the last 3 meetings that we've been having every Friday, just kind of in this informal setting, just like we're doing right now. We come together for an hour, a bunch of leaders in the state, to just talk about some of the things that have been that we're working on. A lot of different resource documents, and then we're starting to build a supply link. So here's the electrostatic backpack sprayers, the disinfectant cleaner, this Davy Coach protection shields. This is a company that's coming up with some type of protection shield prototype that, again, looks like a lot of this is for White Fleet, but if you're interested, or these nanoside grab rail covers seem like they're already have like a type of disinfectant in there that you can put around your handrails as kids are getting on and off the bus, and they're easy to swap out and change. So a lot of information that's being updated regularly on the TAA page for those of you that haven't ever visited or really poked around to see what's on there. We're working on trying to just continue to put information out here for everybody. So I'll open it one more time, see if there's any other questions that pop up, and if not, we'll go ahead and close her up.
Hey, Jason, just a quick follow-up. So on the survey, I think at Tempe, we answered ours probably 2 weeks ago and didn't know what we were doing.
Sure.
Can we go back in and update that, or should we?
I think there's a way to edit it, but I'm not exactly positive. I think I made that link available, but I'd have to see. What you might do is just go back through and re-answer the questions again. And once you do that, I could probably just delete the line item out of there from your first initial response.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else? Any questions? All right. Well, I will close it up here, and looks like you guys have a break for lunch, and then we'll come back at 12:30. There are Josh over at Higley's doing a transportation's role in school evacuation and student reunification. For those responsible for Medicaid funding and using the bubble sheets for special needs student transportation, there's a Zoom class on that that's actually going to be hosted by Nancy Dalecki and Lisa Paulette. They are the ones that manage the whole system for Arizona. And then a school bus sanitation class from Steve Johnson from Thomas Built Buses. He's going to do a thing on that. So 3 sessions for you guys to attend, and we'll see you at 12:30. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
Appreciate it.